millions of Kenyans across the country continue to feel the pinch since the implementation of the new electricity tariffs by Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the EPRA, which took effect this month.
Well, in the new tariffs, the energy regulator has split customer clusters into 3 categories, with some facing a price hike of as high as 19% per unit. Serfine Achieng Ouma breaks down the new tariffs and their impact on the consumers.
It's an ordinary day in business at Nixon Sai's barbershop in Nakuru County. Nixon strives to satisfy his clients despite the high cost of electricity that is now affecting millions of Kenyans.
Kwa mwezi hapo nyumaye nilikuwa natumia token ya maybe 2,000 kienda sana 2,300, lakini saa hizi nikikalculate naona imepanda juu kidogo. Naweza tumia maybe ukiapproximate 3,000 kwa mwezi, na hiyo iko juu sana, inatuumiza kama sisi mayouth.
A situation, he says, is now threatening the income from a venture that he has depended on for close to 10 years.
Hapo nyuma at least ungesave kitu kidogo, but kwa saa hizi vile stima imepanda na gharama ya vitu kupanda, product unapata kwa mwezi hauna kitu.
In March this year, the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority gazetted new prices for electricity that were to take effect at the start of this month, occasioning higher cost of electricity. Under the newly gazetted tariffs, which took effect on 1st of April 2023, KPLC revised its category of both domestic and commercial consumers. Domestic consumers, for instance, are now being categorized in 3, namely domestic lifeline category, comprising of those who use less than 30 units a month; domestic ordinary 1, those who use between 30 to 100 units a month; and domestic ordinary 2, consisting of those who use more than 100 units a month. The domestic lifeline consumers got a reprieve with a reduction of 4% in their end-user bills, meaning they will now pay 21.16 shillings per unit instead of 21.99 shillings paid previously. However, the new adjustments meant that approximately 1.9 million consumers face being knocked off from the lifeline band to create the domestic ordinary 1 category of consumers who will have to bear a power cost increment of up to 19%. This category of consumers now pay 26.10 shillings per unit, up from 21.99 shillings. The hardest hit are consumers using more than 100 units a month, those who fall under domestic category 2, who pay 31.75 shillings per unit, up from 27.92 shillings, which is a 14% increment. The Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya had moved to court seeking to block the implementation of the new electricity prices, but the case was pushed to May to give the other parties adequate time to file their responses.
The respondents are actually the Attorney General, EPRA, and Kenya Power, so they had to be listened to. So when we went on the 3rd, I think we were given some dates for various other progress, and I think we will be heard on the 8th of May.
A spot check done by Citizen Television established how several Kenyans have been affected by the new price adjustments. Consumer X, for instance, spends 5,000 shillings every month for his electricity bill, but the same amount has been getting him lesser electricity units each month. In February this year, he got 195.09 units. In March, he got 179.06, and in April, when the new tariffs were implemented, he got 157.49 units, 37.6 units less than what he got for the same amount of money in January this year.
The power was increased by between 55% to 66%, but forex and fuel costs were brought down by around 55% each to cover up for that big change. But with the time, expect that if they go back to the original position, you would get even some of the tariff in this power being paid at 40 shillings per kilowatt hour.
Also important to note is how the cost of electricity has been going up year upon year. A look at customer-wise monthly expenditure on electricity for the years 2022 and 2023 confirms this. In January, February and March 2022, customer Y had a set budget of 600 Kenyan shillings monthly for his power bill and would get 37.65 units, but in January 2023, he got 29.47 units for the same amount, 8.18 units less. The units could also not last him up to the end of the month, and he had to top up within the same month, this time adjusting his budget to 700 Kenyan shillings, but still it could only get him 34.21 units, which is way less than the 37.65 units he got for 600 Kenyan shillings in the same month the previous year. The Consumer Rights Body is also questioning why KPLC has resorted to stop issuing a breakdown on the electricity bills detailing the amount paid by the consumer, the tokens given, and itemizing all the other charges as it had previously done before March.
You realize that every month the fuel cost will always be different from the previous month. Forex will always be different from the previous month. And it is a boardroom decision that we believe as a society that people will sit and decide that we need this amount of billions to come through fuel cost. We need this amount of billions to come through Forex. So that being decided every month and then, that is what makes the fuel cost what makes the cost of our keep on changing.
Dereva remains optimistic that the courts will grant their petition, but until that happens, consumers such as Nixon and millions others will have to continue paying extra for their electricity amidst the hard economic times. Serfine Achieng Ouma, Citizen TV.